In this tutorial, we're going to learn to knit mitered squares. And there are several different ways of working these. The basic idea is that the cast-on becomes two outside edges of the square, and then you knit and decrease until you get down to one stitch, making a perfect square. And it makes for really interesting directional knitting. And when you combine that with either a variegated yarn or two colors of yarn for stripes or color blocks, you can really see interesting direction in the knitting. And it's really limitless what you can do with these. You can do one solid block for something like a dishcloth, or you can start piecing these together for even a more interesting design, for something much bigger. If you want to follow along with a written pattern for this, you can follow the link in the video description just below the video on my website for a free PDF download of these instructions. Let's take a look. Here I have a couple of squares, and you can see if you seam these together, you're going to get something much different than just a single square because of the direction of the knitting. And this here is just a dishcloth. And I didn't do stripes in this. The yarn actually did this on its own. But I ran out of yarn, so there's a little blue corner down here. Okay, I'm going to use big bulky needles and thick yarn for this to demonstrate. You want to first cast on an even number of stitches using the long tail cast on. And the reason we use that is because the long tail cast on gives us a cast on plus a row of knitting. And that's important if we want the stripes to stay even from the edge inward. So I've cast on an even number of stitches here. I'm going to knit back across. This is garter stitch, so these are going to lay really nice and flat. This is tough in this cast on row. And it's all knitting, no purling. And if you need help with the long tail cast on, I'll give you a link right here. Okay, halfway through the stitches, I'm going to place a marker. And that'll be important, whoops, and that'll be important on the next row. Okay. I'm glad that row's over. That was tight. Now we're on a right side row, and I'm going to take a clippy marker and mark this row because it is hard to tell sometimes which is which. I'm also going to change color here. To do that, I'm going to take this red yarn and fold it over, leaving about a 6-inch tail. Put my needle into the first stitch and just wrap that loop around the back needle. Pull that through, and here's how I like to work attaching a new color of yarn. Knit across a few stitches, just enough to hold the needle in so it doesn't slip out. And then tie a knot with the old color and the tail of the working yarn. And then you can go back and weave those ends in later, but at least they're secure for now and nothing will stretch out. Okay, now I'm going to knit up to 2 stitches before the marker. And here's where the decreasing starts. I'm going to knit 2 together, and this is a normal knit stitch. I'm going to put my needle through 2 stitches to work a decrease, and then slip the marker. Now the knit 2 together is a right leaning decrease, and then we slip the marker. On the other side of the marker we want to do a left leaning decrease, which is an SSK, or slip slip knit. You slip a stitch as if to knit, slip a second one as if to knit, take the tip of your left needle and put it into the front of those 2 stitches, wrap it and pull it through, and you've decreased by 1. And if you need a slower review of the SSK, I'll give you a link right here. And then you just knit to the end. So that was a right side decrease row. On the wrong side of the work, we are just going to knit across. This becomes pretty awesome TV knitting because it doesn't require a whole lot of attention. Okay, the last thing I want to show you on this piece, you can already see that we're getting some, a corner right here. This is going to be, the cast on is going to be this corner right here. There's the cast on row. Now I'm going to work stripes, 2 row stripes here. So I'm keeping both working yarns attached while I do this. And the point I want to make here is switching from one color to the other. I'm going to go back to this tan colored yarn, and when I do that, I want to pay special attention to the tension on this first stitch. I don't want it to be too loose so that I have a big loop on the outside, but if I pull it too tightly, then I could end up with a bunched edge here, and we want these to block out to be really perfect squares. So that's how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to pay close attention to that first stitch and maybe give it a tug to make sure it's not too tight as I work across. And this is a right side row, so I will knit to 2 stitches from the marker, knit 2 together, slip the marker, and then SSK, and then knit to the end. And that's the 2 row repeat. And again, this is all available in the free written pattern. The last thing I want to show you is how to finish. You'll continue decreasing until you get down to just 2 stitches. And the very last line of the pattern tells us to knit those 2 together. And so a right side row becomes the last stitch. Whoops, I've already broken the yarn here, so I don't have much to work with. Okay, normally when I finish off something like this, I'll pull the loop big and then put that end through the last loop. I think that's the normal way. Most people do it, and then tighten it up. But I found that it leaves really kind of too sharp of a corner. It doesn't match up with the other corners. So instead of putting this last loop, this last strand through the last loop, I'm just going to pull this last loop long and fasten it off that way. And that gives us a corner that matches the other corners really nicely without this extra little bump at the edge. And that's it. Good luck.